Pierre Gasly's sensational Italian Grand Prix victory for AlphaTauri of course spawned conversations about if he should in fact go back to Red Bull's senior team alongside Max Verstappen. To help me, Glenn Freeman, answer that question, I have Scott Mitchell and Ed Straw with me. And before we begin, make sure you let us know in the comments if you think Gasly should go back to Red Bull, if there should be a swap with Albon, or what should happen to him and to Red Bull's two teams in the future. But Scott, let's crack on. Is it as simple as Pierre Gasly has won a race, let's put him back in the top team where he's clearly proven he belongs?
I'm sure there'll be a few people within Red Bull, within Gasly's camp, and maybe even Pierre himself who think it's that simple. But I think his first stint at the senior team and what's happening to Albon now proves that it's anything but. Red Bull is an organisation that I think is a bit lost at the moment in terms of what it needs to do with its Formula One car. It has fallen well short of expectations this year. And I think unless Gasly goes into a consistent environment that's going to get the best out of him and that he's going to get the best out of, I just see it being a damaging return. I think he's so well loved within the Toro Rosso AlphaTauri environment. He's so well loved by Honda that he's just got a nice little thing going there that brings the best out of him. And I actually think, based on what we saw from him last year, I think his better option is to sort of wait it out as long as possible in this team. And I think his best bet is to fly the coop at Red Bull. I don't think it's worth him going to Red Bull Racing just to be number 2 to Verstappen. I think he should play it out, take what he can get at the team he's in at the moment, which gets the best out of him and he gets the best out of, and then have a look and see what's around. Maybe there'll be an Alpine seat going in 2022 or something like that. I think that's his best long-term bet. Do a bit of a Carlos Sainz Jr., but it's very difficult to work out what a team like Red Bull is going to do on this. So for all I know, he'll be back in the senior team before the end of the season.
Yeah, I think certainly the one thing Red Bull definitely has to not do is make the change with immediate effects. They did it mid-season before. It's not really the best plan. The key is that Red Bull has got 2 drivers there with ability and underlying potential, and that they can reshuffle them around however they really want to. The big question is whether Albon first can actually make good on the opportunity he's got. Yes, he's there to be number 2 to Max Verstappen, but currently he's not at the level they need him to be at. We've seen the green shoots of recovery, as it were, for Albon, but he's not actually put it all together consistently, and sometimes those green shoots need to turn into something genuine and tangible. I think probably the way Red Bull will look at it is, at the very earliest, they'll have to look to next season to make a swap. They still haven't confirmed Albon for next year, remember, and that shows that there are doubts within Red Bull, because if there weren't, they'd have confirmed the lineup wouldn't change. But they could also take a really long-term view, leave the drivers where they are for 18 months. Continuity could be good for Red Bull, given the car carryover for 2021. Then you've got the new rules in 2022, and you've got 2 good drivers there. Gasly can continue to grow because he's doing a wonderful job in AlphaTauri, and Albon's got a chance to make it work in Red Bull. I think the absolutely critical thing is they've got to make the decision for the right reasons. They can't simply say, oh, it's not quite working for Albon. Oh, look, Pierre Gasly's won a race, let's put him in. They need to be sure, if they make the swap, that Gasly has solved some of the off-track things that he needs to make it work, and they need to be sure the end of the road's been reached for Albon. Let's not have a revolving door for Red Bull, because that's just not going to work. They'll keep doing the same thing and expect a different outcome.
Well, this is a crazy thing, isn't it? We're only just over a year on from Gasly getting dropped by Red Bull and it looking like his career prospects might be over. But you mentioned there, Ed, that Red Bull need to know that he's fixed some of the problems that they weren't impressed with last year. How much of a different driver is he in late 2020 compared to the one that they dropped before?
In some ways, he is a different driver. In other ways, we don't necessarily know. What's very clear is he's become a consistent force. Now, his high points were always decent, certainly in that first year and the races he had at the end of the year before with Toro Rosso. Red Bull, that half season was a struggle, but we always knew there was a quick racing driver in there. But since he returned to Toro Rosso in the middle of last season, he's been consistently good, and he's taken another step this year, and he's become an absolutely bankable midfield performer. really consistent. He's consistently either in Q3 or knocking on the door. He's absolutely buried Kvyat in qualifying overall in that past 12-month period, and he basically finishes in the points in what is on average the 7th fastest car this season consistently, unless something gets in the way. When he hasn't done, it's been down to a mad strategy move, or it's been down to an engine problem, or down to some contact at the first corner as he had in the Styrian Grand Prix. So he is absolutely dependable, and I think he can do that. The real question is, where is he at mentality-wise, approach-wise, off-track? Because that was at the heart of the problems with Red Bull. They were concerned that he wasn't able to kind of take a global look at the approach to setup. He was trying to optimise the car for every single corner rather than trying to look at the global lap compromise, if you want to call it that. So I think it's not a question of work ethic, it's a question of approach and mindset, and they'll be keeping very, very close tabs on his approach. I think he's ticked a number of boxes, but he hasn't ticked all of them, at least not emphatically so.
The other big question here, of course, Scott, is Albon and how he fits into this puzzle. He was accelerated up to the top team really as a result of Gasly's struggles, but is perhaps one of the keys here how he does against Verstappen for the rest of the season, and will that ultimately determine Gasly's fate?
Yeah, I think it will, because I think we've seen enough now from Red Bull to know that they're just not fully sold on Gasly. So it's as much about what the current incumbent of the seat does. Gasly could do a mega job, and I don't think he'd ever put Red Bull in a situation where they think, oh, well, he's given us no choice, we have to pick him, because you can go back 8 years and find countless instances of Red Bull just not being completely sold on Pierre Gasly for various reasons, some of which Ed's obviously already pointed out. So I think the ball's in Albon's court. He's got the backing of Red Bull for now. He also has the slight advantage of knowing that the car's not that great this year. So I think Red Bull's giving him a bit more of the benefit of the doubt than perhaps Gasly got in the first half of 2019. So I think Albon's still got a little bit of time. Whether or not there's actually any sort of sign of exactly where he needs to get to or what he can do, I'm not so sure about. There have been, as Ed put it earlier, I think, green shoots of recovery, but yet to see him put together a full weekend, and that's what's really getting to me at the moment. I'm sure frustrating Alex and Red Bull as well. So what I think I need to see from Alex, what Red Bull needs to see from him, is this clean weekend where he actually gets close to Verstappen in qualifying. He actually did quite a good job of that at Monza, but unfortunately picked the weekend where Red Bull happened to have the 4th or 5th fastest car. So that was just a little bit unlucky. But then he needs to actually execute in the race. You have to write off the Italian Grand Prix. It was one of those races where that was, on paper, the worst possible situation for Albon. The driver he replaced in the junior team wins the Grand Prix, and he's absolutely nowhere at the back of the field. But he had damage from an incident at the start that Red Bull reckon was costing him a second a lap. So he has got a run of races coming up. I think the end of the triple header, and then we start to get into the final phase of the season. He needs to get something big, I think, out the next few races. I don't think Red Bull's going to make a choice until the very end of the year. It'll be the same as last season when they decided, I think it was just ahead of Brazil, to keep Albon in the car. They've got everyone under contract, or they'll be able to basically move them around like chess pieces, as Red Bull always does. So he will be given the maximum amount of time, and then I think that determines what they do next. Gasly's doing a very, very good job, making an excellent case for himself, but that isn't the only factor at play here. He doesn't have the Red Bull seat. Albon does, and it's what he does with it over the next few races that I think is going to determine where those two drivers are next season.
And what makes this really complicated, it's not just about whether the driver can do it, it's also about Red Bull working out what they can realistically expect from a driver up against a force of nature like Max Verstappen, who is absolutely a World Championship caliber driver, just not quite in the right car. That is not easy for them to work out, and they'll probably be scratching their heads to work out what they need to do to get what you might call their own version of Valtteri Bottas firing on all cylinders in the second Red Bull seat.
Yeah, I think Albon's still got quite a bit to prove. He often gets quite a bit of praise for some of his daring overtakes, but my view on that is that quite often he's performing great overtakes on cars that he shouldn't be racing in the first place, that can't really hold a candle to the Red Bull, so he needs to get up there and be regularly on the second row of the grid at least with Verstappen. But that's no easy task because, as Ed outlined there, Verstappen is a phenomenon. But let us know what you think Red Bull should do. Does Gasly deserve a chance back at the top team? Did they get rid of him too quickly before And would it just be madness to make another swap and to cut Albon's opportunity short before he's even had a chance to settle in? Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. We're past 350,000 subscribers now, and we're thankful to everyone who's come along for the ride so far, and there's lots more to come from us, so make sure you hit that notifications bell so you can see the next video we produce.